Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Home is Where the Dark Is. This is Alex Crescioni. God damn, this industry is fucking brutal, but we already knew that, right? The music industry. Good luck. And I'm still really kind of bent out of shape about this Cradle of Filth thing. You know, I'm not going to get into the details of it, as most of the details have been posted online by some of the members that are going through this, so I won't bore you with that. If you're following the story at all, you probably already know what's going on. But this underlying thing is still bugging me about it, and it's that when we find out the intimate details of the bands that we've loved for so many years, or to artists we've looked up to, and we find out that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, you know, that's obvious too. Like, the music industry is like 99% smoke and mirrors, like nothing is what it seems. And then when you decide to give it your all and pursue music professionally and you dedicate your life to it, you hope that you will have some kind of reciprocation there. Like, you give your life to music, and then maybe music will give a bit of itself to you and help you. And I know how hard it is to be accepted into a professional band, like to get hired to play technical metal of any kind, or extremely technical death metal, black metal, whatever. Like, this stuff it's not easy to do on a professional level, you know. Playing keys and singing operatic vocals, the skill to acquire that kind of professionalism, it takes many, many, many years to get to a level where you would even be considered, at all to be hired in a band like that. So there's just so many years that go into preparation and building your style and honing your craft. And after the many years of going through that, maybe you went to music school, maybe you're in debt, maybe you're in college debt. I hope none of you at this point make the decision to go into debt to go to music school, unless it's something you're willing to accept and it's something you're willing to deal with for the rest of your life, or you pay it up front, or you save money working a job and you pay for it up front. That's beside the point. The problem is, it takes so long to get to that kind of a professional level. And then after you've slaved away at your craft, and of course you have to have a job to survive, and then by the time you're actually able to be good enough to audition for a band and to even be considered, and then you actually get the gig, then you're presented with a whole nother side of this journey in music that you never expected, which is, not only are you expected to be the best at your craft, you're also expected to basically live on non-livable salaries and wages. A lot of people have been in the dark about this type of stuff for so long, because most of the time it's supposed to be private information, you know, between the bands and the management and the labels. These contracts obviously are not to be disclosed. Yet when you find out specific details about pay, about treatment, about royalties, about rights, and you find out what a lot of these musicians have been dealing with for years, and yeah, it was their choice to accept the job or to sign the contract or to not sign the contract, but it really puts things into perspective. And you know, you see your favorite band going on world tours, playing hundreds of shows throughout their career, and you know, most people assume like, wow, you're a rock star, you're making great money. You know, it would I know like a lot of this information that's come out about Cradle of Filth, it's like baffled a lot of people. Like, wow, you're in a Cradle of Filth and you've toured the world and you're extremely talented musician, yet you're making that kind of money. It's really shocking in some ways, yet people that know the ins and outs of the industry and people that have been in the industry for many years probably isn't shocking to them. Like when I found out about it, it wasn't shocking to me at all. Just the way that the band members went about posting this stuff publicly, I personally don't think was a smart move at all. And there will be repercussions for that, unfortunately. It's part of the industry that is really, really ugly. And yeah, it bothers me, but it's the nature of the beast, you know? And unfortunately, that's how a lot of, you know, these artists, we put them up on a pedestal, you know, like we've followed them for many years. We love the music, but if we knew what really went on, you know, behind closed doors, if we knew what was really happening, we probably, you know, wouldn't really envy the musicians that got that gig. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I'm just kind of disheartened by this whole thing with Cradle of Filth. And, you know, it's made me think about a lot of things personally as well, because, you know, I've always wanted to play music as a hired gun for a band that I've looked up to. And for the longest time, I always thought, hey, it'd be cool to audition for Cradle of Filth, because I know I could play the music. I actually have a playthrough video on YouTube of one of their tracks called Crawling King Chaos. So I'm confident I could play the music and I can learn the sets, and you know, I at least would be considered and would be able to, you know, to do an audition and whatnot. But then you learn things about the intimate details of the way the band's business practices run and with management, and you learn all these things, and it's like, maybe not, you know, maybe not. I've always thought, like, you know, one day you're going to have a great opportunity present itself. And yeah, a lot of it's luck. A lot of it is being in the right place at the right time. But, you know, you have to have many, many years of dedication and drive and preparation so that once something comes up, you're ready, you know. And, you know, I've talked to other friends about this, and it's like, yeah, there are a few bands that if a position opened that I would consider auditioning for. I'm at the stage in my life now where I resonate much more deeply with studio work and being in the studio and producing, recording, mixing, mastering, just making records, and not touring and not playing shows. And in the beginning of my career, I really wanted that. I really wanted the band thing. You know, I really wanted to make it in a band and to have my band and tour and make records and do that whole thing, you know. And then as I grew and as I discovered more of myself, I realized, you know, I really just love the creation process and production and audio engineering and all that stuff is just, I'm so much more passionate about that. And having said that, you know, in the back of my mind, I always knew that, hey, you know what, there will be an opportunity for you at some point. It might take a long time, but there will be an opportunity that presents itself to you in the future where you'll be able to go on tour the right way and see the world and play some great shows and actually get paid for it. And, you know, that has happened. So I actually announced in my last video, I'm going to be going on tour with the band The Awakening playing bass, and I did a podcast with their singer, Ashton Knight, earlier in the year, which you can check out if you'd like, but that's besides the point. what I'm trying to say here is like the music industry is so unbelievably brutal. If I knew how insane it would be, like early in my life, I probably would have taken a different route, honestly. But what's beautiful about it is that at the same time, as crazy as it is, as unpredictable as it is, as soul crushing as it is, it also can bring a lot of amazing gold into your life, and it's in different ways than you would ever think. Like, for example, I started a band earlier in my career, in my early 20s, and I started it as an experiment project, and it ended up leading to a few opportunities, and I got members, and we played some shows here and there. I traveled a little bit, but what it did was it helped me discover myself as a musician, and it made me realize, like, look, I'm good at these things, I am not good at these things, and I made a lot of mistakes. And yeah, that's okay. We're going to look back on our career, and there'll be music that we are embarrassed by, and there'll be music that we're still proud of, but that's just part of the journey. But I started this band because I was going through this phase where I was really into this genre of music called love metal. So I was really into like this band called Typo Negative, 69 Eyes, Him, like the kind of gothic-y, heavy, but still kind of androgynous. So I did that kind of a thing. And what surprised me the most about it is that even looking back on a lot of that music, I can't listen to it at all. Like, I can't. It's so embarrassing to me. But it led me to meet some very interesting people, and it even brought a very beautiful woman into my life that I dated for a couple of years, where we're no longer together. But it brought a lot of beautiful light into my life in different ways than I would have expected. And it was just a phenomenal way that the universe works in that regard. So if you can look at your failures in a different way, and in a different light, and I know it's hard when you're going through the failures, like, for example, like if what's happening right now with Cradle of Filth, like it's a lot of drama and people are going crazy over it, but this is going to be a major transformational shift for the members, specifically the people that decide to leave. But this is like a major shift for them, and that happens a lot in music and in your career. And it's a fucking insane journey, but you just have to be ready for that. You have to be okay with the unknown. You have to be okay with the unpredictableness of the journey. And for a lot of us, that's hard because, as artists, a lot of us can be control freaks. We want things how we want them. We want things to pan out how we plan them, and that's never the case. Like, maybe some things will go your way, but you're going to get sidetracked. You're going to come to forks in the road. You're going to be thrown all kinds of different obstacles and disasters and crises all over the place. So what makes it worth it is if you can just accept that from the beginning. And then I urge you, if you're a younger artist or you're just starting to get into the game, just be prepared for a lot of chaos, a lot of turmoil, a lot of disasters. And be prepared for that, and try and learn to be calm in the storm. And that's one of the hardest things. But I'm still learning a lot. I'm 39 years old. I've been doing music since I was super young, but I never thought I'd be here. I never thought I'd be sitting on a podcast, making videos, sending messages out to the world. But it feels good. It feels right, because if I can just help one person, then it makes all the difference. And that's what I feel. That's why I feel that you should continue to make music regardless of the outcome. And I know a lot of people get very, very discouraged when they pour their heart and soul into an album, a single, a music video, a show, and no one listens, or very few people listen, and no one shows up to the show, or like 5 people show up, and then it's like, it's super disheartening, you know, because you put your everything into it, and you put, you know, hours and hours and hours, and probably a lot of money, and you put your all into it, and then you're given, for at the time it feels like you're given nothing back, like nobody cares. But if you can look at it from a different angle, like, look, first of all, you have to do it for you. Obviously, that's what, you know that deep down, you're doing it for yourself. But if your show touches at least one person, or if 2 people show up that aren't your family or friends that actually enjoy the music, and you make a connection from that, and maybe they start streaming your music, and you sell 1 album or 2, and it snowballs, you just have to be okay with the uncertainty. You have to be okay with sucking for a long time. And a lot of the times it's not even that you're sucking, it's just like you're just not getting the exposure because it takes a lot of time. It doesn't mean you suck, it just means you need to keep going. You need to pursue and be consistent. And I know it's really hard to be consistent when you feel like no one's watching and no one cares and no one's streaming and no one's buying your CD or your vinyl, and you spend all this money and you're just, you know, not seeing a profit whatsoever. But that's another thing you have to be prepared for in music, is expect to go a long time without seeing any return on anything. You know, I know musicians that are in their 50s that are still like, they're putting so much money into their career, and like they're getting very little back and still in the red. And it's like, you know, it's just, you have to do it for the love of it. And, you know, of course you have to have your job so you can, you know, eat, and that's just part of it, you know. And if you get a big break, and like, I think that's another thing that a lot of us don't realize, is that all these success stories we see, we don't always know how these artists, these musicians, these actors, we don't know how they got there per se, and we don't know how well they're doing, because from the outside, of course, it looks like they're doing well, but we don't know the details. But I do know is that a lot of artists, musicians, and actors, etc., you know, a lot of them do a lot of interviews, and some of them open up about their life and their first big break. And that's really all it takes, is like, if you can last long enough to actually get that first big break, then hopefully that'll start the trajectory, and that will snowball, and then you'll be able to sustain yourself through your craft, through your passion at some point. But you have to be able to last up to that point. And a lot of these artists, they'll have that one moment where it's like, oh yeah, I got this gig and it blew up, and my expectations were low, but it totally blew up, and it got me this next gig, and it got me this, and it paid a lot of money, and then I was able to do the next thing and the next thing, and then it actually, you know, it starts paying you back for all your years and years and years of struggle and of fear and years of struggling. So anyway, if you're struggling right now as a musician, clearly you're not alone. And I understand how painful it is and how soul-crushing it can feel, but we know what we signed up for, okay? Just make sure you keep going, keep releasing the music, and eventually it will pay off, maybe in a different way than you ever imagined. So anyways, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate everyone who tunes in to these podcasts. And if you want to check out my website, it's alexcrescioni.com. I do have digipacks available on my online store if you'd like to support. And And if you'd like to give me a follow on Instagram, my handle is Alex Crescioni. And the first 10 people that follow me and send me a message saying free digipack, I will go ahead and ship you some records on me. So don't give up, keep pushing forward. And if there's anything I can help you with, feel free to reach out at any time. Cheers. Thank you.